What's going on, Commonwealth, and welcome to another great episode of the Bluegrass Soccer Cast, your home for all things soccer, right here in the beautiful Commonwealth of Kentucky. I'm, of course, your host, Mr. Jimmy. That's Mr. John. John, how are we doing today, sir?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you?
I'm good. What kind of chips you got tonight?
Just pretzels.
Big pretzel guy, right? Yeah, big pretzel guy.
Very big.
What? Do you have a favorite flavor of pretzels?
Plain.
Or just plain? Not even salted?
I don't know any pretzels that don't come salted.
Oh, they do make some. I have some family members that have like sodium issues, so like they have to buy like legitimate plain.
Whatever is like called original
Okay.
by most companies, I'm okay with. Particularly the smaller twist ones. I'm not really a big fan of like the sticks or the like really thick sticks.
Yeah, the phrasing here, the thicker sticks can sometimes be really hard to chew.
You're the one with your head.
Hey man, we're 2 minutes in and I've already derailed our entire show. Welcome everyone, and welcome to our Facebook audience for our first episode on Facebook. So for everybody who's watching on Facebook, make sure to hit the follow button so that you can keep up with everything Bluegrass Soccer Cast on Facebook as well. As well as if you're on any of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, or on X, make sure to give us a comment and play along in the show. As we very much appreciate the banter back and forth. But John, we have a really good episode for everyone today. And to start, we have a great guest. We have Mr. Paul Terry, who is a regional official here in this part of Kentucky. And I wanted to bring Paul on to kind of talk about what's it like to be an official, as well as kind of getting his thoughts on what's going on in the MLS right now. So, Paul, welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So, Paul, kind of talk to us a little bit about like how you got to this point in your journey and why you wanted to be a ref.
Wow. Well, that starts. I started as a referee when I was a teenager, 14 years old. I was a player. Love the game. Another way to stay involved with the game. Nice way to make a little money when you're a kid. And everything's just kind of grown from there. I mean, I've all through high school and college, just reffing to make some money on the side. Finally at some point, somebody else decided, hey, hey, man, you look like you're pretty good at this. There's some other opportunities here if you want to try that out. And so I've was able to advance.
For you.
Sorry?
Who is that person that kind of prodded you to become an official?
I mean, as far just to get started, it was something that my parents suggested, honestly. My younger brothers and sisters were involved with the recreational league, and, they were talking about how they needed officials, and, it was kind of their idea to get me started.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how you did get started. What was, I have no clue about the soccer experience. For those who don't know, I was a high school American football referee.
Okay.
For about 5 minutes. Like I didn't even have a cup of coffee. I took the test, and for me, it was like you took this online test, and you either passed or you failed. And I think I somehow got like 100 on it. I was like, I don't know the rules that well, but here we go, state of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I went to one meeting, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't need any more officials, so see you around." I was like, oh, okay. And I was like 18 at the time, so It wasn't that big of a deal. But what was the soccer version of that like?
Well, it's similar. There's the way it's set up now for youth soccer. There's an online portion that you have to complete, and then we also do a field session where you get some practical training. Just covering the basics as far as these are the different signals. Just talk about positioning, blowing your whistle, just to kind of give them a good foundation to get started. Altogether, it's about 3 or 4 hours of online content and another 4 hours of field session. And that can get you started as a youth referee.
Now, for clarifying your credentials here for the audience, you've done from youth all the way up to what level?
I have done everything from recreational, youth competitive. I've done adult amateurs, USL 2, USL Championship, Open Cup, high school, college. If there's something out there that needs a referee, I've probably done it.
Yeah.
I was really fortunate where the stage I was in my referee career when Louisville City came along, and I was able to do games up there, about 15 or 20 games in the first 4 or 5 years that Louisville City was around.
Oh, so that was at the baseball stadium.
Oh yeah, that was at Slugger.
Well, how was the field?
It was an adventure. So, for the professional levels and things like that, they ask us to get there, pretty far before the game. Let's say it's a 7:00 game. We'd be on site 5:15, 5:30. There's lots of administrative stuff we have to do ahead of time. We work with a game administrator. We, meet the coaches and captains pregame. But a big part of that, especially at Slugger, was inspecting the field. Because I don't know if you ever saw games there, but it was like a hybrid grass / turf / something or other. And we literally had to walk like every spot where the grass and turf met together and make sure those seams were good. And, wasn't anything that was going to trip a player up. It was a mess.
The infield and everything.
Yeah, every time we were there, I was like, man, their grounds crew is amazing because they worked magic on that field. They might have been a baseball game the day before and then a soccer game the next day. And, the work that they did to make that somewhat playable was amazing. But, it was a challenge to ref there.
They had to invent technology to lower the mound so they didn't have to redo it.
Yes, they did. And they were able to patent that or something. I don't know. Yeah. It was amazing. But that was an interesting adventure. But I will say that Lynn Family Stadium is much better. I have been there once. I had an Open Cup game there a couple of years ago, and that was a really cool experience to be able to be in an actual stadium like that.
Paul, what do you consider your most memorable game you got to ref? Either it could be high school, college, one of those games you look back at, you felt very fortunate to just be able to be there just because you were.
Honestly, this is probably one I'll never forget. It was, I think it was 2018. Louisville City made a pretty deep run in the Open Cup. It was I
remember that.
It wasn't, I think it was maybe the round of 16 or something like that. And they got to host New England Revolution. So, they're playing a big boy. They, they were playing at University of Louisville Stadium. And somehow, some way, the gods shined upon me, and I was assigned to work that match as an assistant referee. Wow. So that was my huge moment in my career, being on the field with an MLS side.
That's pretty legit.
What we got a question in the comments from Justin Blair. What level do you find is the hardest to officiate?
Wow. I mean, each one has their own different challenges. For me, something that's very challenging is the games at the college level, because you have so many international players now. You have such a blend of styles and personalities, and there's times I've been on the field where I'm one of the only people on the field who, speaks English as a native language. There's Europeans, South Americans, Africans, and just that whole blend of styles and cultures and personalities. It's really challenging.
So how do you manage that on the field?
Well, even though all those people come from different backgrounds, the one thing that we all have in common is the game. But you tend to learn over time, different styles that players want. If I'm reffing Hispanic players, I know that they like certain fouls called versus maybe the European players like something a little bit different. And so you just have to kind of balance that out and, do the best you can.
What is your region for those? Because I worked at Berea's
Okay.
athletic department, so I know like you guys can sometimes come from like 5 hours
Yeah.
away before. So I think some people don't understand kind of how the reffing assignments work. So like, what is your scope?
Well, it varies. Like for high school, we're pretty much here in the Bowling Green area, Bowling Green, Glasgow, Russellville, things like that. So it's high school is a little more local. Once you get to the college level, there is a greater bit of traveling involved. For me personally, most of the places I go are within 2 to 3 hour travel time. Like for example, last year I did games at University of Evansville, Southern Indiana, Murray State, Belmont.
Racers.
Yeah. Belmont, Lipscomb, UK. So it just, you, as an official, you kind of have that flexibility to decide how far you want to go. But so some guys, yeah, well, there's referees at the higher levels that are flying halfway across the country for games. I kind of limit myself a little more, having a family at home and work, but we do have a lot of flexibility in that.
About typically, how many games are you doing in a given weekend?
This time of year with youth soccer, I'm pretty much just working on the weekends. So maybe 5 or 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, like for example, this weekend I have a game Friday night. Golden Lions, hello. And then I have 3 youth games on Saturday. But during the fall season, when it's high school and college, I'm typically working 5, sometimes 6 nights a week.
Daggum.
Yeah. Ooh. So it just, but again, we kind of have that flexibility to pick and choose when we want to work, and maybe not necessarily where, but, set some limitations. So it's, you do as much as you want to do, I guess.
So is this your only job as an
official? No, gosh, if I wish. I've said that for years, that if I could live on being a soccer referee, I would give it a shot, but Kentucky's just not the right part of the country. This is a secondary source of income for me, but it's just something I've been doing for so long, and I've been able to progress along the way that it's really, it's something that is still pretty substantial.
Yeah,
definitely. With that, do you, even though you're kind of not at the MLS level, do you have any insight or kind of can peel back the curtain a little bit on what's going on between MLS and the mainly between pro and
PSRA, the Professional Soccer Referee Association. I don't know a whole lot of details. I have people that I've worked with throughout the years, and people that I'm friends with that are part of PSRA and work in MLS. But at the same time, there's also some of the people that have crossed over and they're doing games right now that I know them too. So it's kind of like, it's kind of a sticky, place to be in, because I know everybody's got to do what's best for themselves. But I don't know. I know a lot of what the MLS officials are looking for is not necessarily better pay. I know that is part of it, but a lot of it is just quality of life issues. Maybe improvements in their travel, improvements in some of their health benefits, because it is for the referees, it's a full-time job. That's what they do. Yeah. The assistant referees and the video officials are technically still part-time, but they're having to do all the same stuff while they also have a job. It's they're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're training, they're researching the teams. Sometimes they have to go to clinics, where they're traveling for that. Friday they travel for a match, Saturday they work the match, Sunday they travel home. So it's a full-time job, and so they're just looking for things that are going to help improve quality of life mostly.
Yeah, and that quality of life seems to be something that I've heard from a couple of different sources. That seems to be one of the bigger issues. Is some officials may do a game in Seattle on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and then do a game in Orlando or Miami on Saturday night or Sunday at noon, kind of a thing, and
Yeah.
that takes a lot of toll on the body because
Yeah.
when you're out there, you're running a lot, right? You're running
Oh
just
yeah,
as
yeah.
much
Like
as
I
the
said,
players.
it's these guys train almost year round. I mean, they're training just as much, if not more, than the players.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, the thing that's, I guess, makes it harder. In the European countries, everything's so small, travel's so much easier. You get on a train, you
right.
drive, whatever. Here, like you said, you could be flying from one coast to the other, back and forth every week. If you live on the East Coast and you're getting games in Seattle or Portland or LA,
Right.
that traveling across the country in multiple time zones, that does take a toll on your body. And they don't have a lot of recovery time, and then they're right back in the training routine again.
Yeah, most definitely. How long does it typically take, would you say, for a official to go from like the training and the certification to becoming the main ref on the pitch?
You're talking about just at a basic level, or like at what level are we talking about?
Let's say at like your highest level of like USL Championship for Lou City. Like, how long does it take to get from essentially getting certified, obviously starting in the
Sure,
youth
sure.
ranks, getting up to where you could be the head ref for, the second division in America?
I mean, there's not really a specific set timetable. I mean, everybody kind of progresses at their own pace. But I mean, I know guys right now that are working at that level that are in their, early to mid 20s, talking 23, 24, 25 years old. So, those are guys that probably haven't been certified more than 6 or 7 years max. So, I mean, a lot of it has to do with, a little bit of luck, being seen by the right people, where you live, if there's more opportunities. Like for me here in Bowling Green, when I was trying to progress and work my way up in the system, I had to travel a lot. Years ago, we didn't have the opportunities that we even have now. We didn't have a lot of higher level youth clubs. We didn't have adult amateur leagues. We didn't have, a UPSL team. Actually, what, 3 UPSL teams now?
Yes,
We
sir.
didn't have those opportunities. So there was a stretch of a couple of years where I was driving to Louisville every weekend, 4 or 5 months out of the year to ref amateur leagues there, just so I could get the experience and the opportunity to advance. So, I mean, I said everybody's situation is different, but if it's something you really want and you work for, it can be done pretty quickly.
Paul, just pulling back to something you said about the MLS situation a minute ago, you
Mm-hmm.
said that you did know some people who had gone and had helped at those games until the conflict can be resolved. Have you been reached out to come and do any games?
No.
Would you consider it?
I don't think I could physically do what those guys need to do. I really don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and even if I was at that level, if I had that physical, that fitness level, I don't think that's something I would do, just because of, I know so many people that are in the league and the amount of work that it's taken them to get there, that I don't think, for me personally, it would feel right to kind of jump the line and skip the steps in the process.
Yeah, that's totally understandable.
Totally. Yeah, totally understandable. Do you guys do check-ins post-game with like the guy taking you or giving you game assignments and that sort of thing? Like, do refs kind of get graded and checked
Yeah.
in?
Yeah, there are different, there's kind of different forms of that. Some people do, obviously we do a lot of self-evaluation, whether, amongst, within the crew or sometimes on your own. We'll go over things after the match. Some people, have a mentor they work with, and they might reach out and, have, hey, I had this situation in my game. Let me explain it to you. Tell me what you think. And then for higher levels, there are assigned like evaluators and assessors for the matches. And so you would do a post-match, evaluation with them as well to kind of get feedback and talk about, the things you did well, things that maybe you could have done differently or need some improvement. And then, of course, at the professional level, like the USL and the MLS, every match is observed, and that's part of what they do after post match. They might sit down the next day and all meet up and discuss different things that happened.
Paul, how do you avoid favoritism or like giving a certain team more calls than the other? And the reason I'm asking this, there was a situation that happened over the weekend with Inter Miami and Orlando. I believe it was that match. The head official for that match, there was a picture on his social media with him in like a messy jersey.
Yeah, saw that.
So therefore, they replaced him. How do you avoid showing favoritism in that way?
For me personally, I guess as long as I've been doing this, I've just kind of learned like, hey, when I show up to that game today, it's this team, it's team A and team B. I'm not worried about who they are. I try not to bring any maybe like preconceived notions into the match. Everybody's got a clean slate. And then once the game's over, I'm done with it. I've learned to kind of, before the game and then between the whistles and then after the game, try to separate all those things. As far as that specific official and the social media thing, I don't know what to say about that. I know some of the things that I've been told over the years is they really don't want us putting a lot of stuff on social media about what we do as a referee. It's one thing if, you put stuff on there about, hey, like after games, like, had a great opportunity to officiate this game today, or, got to work with friends of mine, or whatever. But we try to avoid a lot of that kind of stuff just so those things don't happen. You don't want that perceived bias.
Sorry, my mic with everything froze for like 2 seconds. My bad. I was like, what is happening? Talk to us about VAR and the impact that can have on a match, right? Like it can fully change things. It can take momentum out of it. How do you see successfully implementing that?
Wow. Well, I mean, my experience with it is probably the same as yours. Like I said, my experience with it is probably the same as yours. Just, watching on TV, I've never had any, formal setting or training or anything with that. So I don't really know a lot of the specifics about it. I do feel that, I feel like it's been accepted well in this country. And I think part of that is just from the fact that, through other sports, football, basketball, where it is used already, that a lot of the American public is already used to it. Whereas, in a lot of the European countries, they're very resistant to it because it's not something that they've experienced very much. I mean, like I said, I don't have a lot of experience with it just from what I've seen. I feel like sometimes, they can show us replays on TV and, we see it right away, but yet why is that official at the monitor for 2 minutes, 3 minutes? I feel like the speed of it, maybe if they could do something to speed up the process to help the flow of the match, I think that would be what would be most beneficial.
I think that ties in well to the question that just got asked here, Justin Blair, FC Cincinnati supporter. Do officials scout the teams or players at all? And then is there a preconception of awareness or of plays and styles and so forth?
Sure. At the professional level, actually, yes, that is part of match preparation. They'll watch game film on the teams, and they'll study formation, styles of play, what the teams might do on set pieces. Does this team like to high press? Does this team like to counterattack? So yeah, at the professional levels, that is a big part of match preparation.
when you get lower down, college, semi-pro, does it fall off, or is there still some?
Well, it's a little bit harder just because of you don't have as much information available. Um, you know, the only thing I really do, let's say at the college level, I might go on the team's website and look at their record, like, okay, how are they doing this season? If it's a conference match, have these two teams played already? Or I might look back and see, hey, what was the result when they played the year before? But you just don't have the amount of information available at the lower levels to really do a lot of research like that. I mean, maybe if you know someone else who has officiated that team, you could talk to them and, hey, tell me about this team, or whether it be, like I said, style of play or formation, or, this is the star player, things like that. But it's, like I said, just without as much information, it makes it a little bit harder.
But you would kind of look for like star players, rivalry matches, all of those.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If that information is available to me, I'm going to try to use it. I mean, I don't want to go in completely blind. It's nice to have a little bit of knowledge before you get into to matches like that.
So if you were from, California or something, and you were coming to do a WKU Middle Tennessee game, you got to know that that's a rivalry, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, that might be something where you can look back at some of their previous matches and look at the box scores. And if there's an official, you might reach out to them like, hey, I saw you ref this team recently. What can you tell me about them?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Paul, we will get you out of here on this. If there are any young folks out there, or even people who are been around for a little while that want to consider becoming an official, what would be the first step that they should take?
Well, there's a for the Kentucky Soccer Referee Association, our website is kyreferee.com, and you can go on there, and there's a lot of good information about how to sign up for the clinics. Different assigners around the state that you can contact. Just kind of explains the pathway as far as things that you need to do to get started. But that's a really good resource for someone just starting out.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, we really appreciate you. Good luck the rest of this season. As the spring is just getting started here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can get up and do another Lou City or Lexington. But of course, the BGFC games, FK Han, FC Leopards, and all the folks down here in Bowling Green as well.
I've already got all three of them on my schedule for this spring.
Let's go. All right. Well, I'm sure I will see you around at those matches. Paul, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Awesome. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yep. See ya. Jon, what a good conversation. Jon is muted? No, not muted. There we go.
Yeah, it was a solid conversation. I think it definitely gave us insight into some of the lower level stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
No, you got it.
We're just stepping on each other's toes tonight, Jon. We're trying to dance, and we both have left feet, so it is quite interesting to watch us tonight. But I agree with you. I think it was a good examination of some of the lower levels to see what it's like to do like that college, to build up towards going to USL and stuff like that. I really hope that the situation between the MLS officials and the MLS can get solved. I can see a little bit of a difference.
Well, it's it's a little confusing because the situation is between PSRA and Pro.
Right.
Because Pro argues for PSRA's behalf to the MLS, so they're like this weird middleman. And Pro and PSRA aren't agreeing right now. So the MLS has locked them out. And it's like, you guys handle it. It's weird. It's like this weird triangle of thing going on because it is Pro and the PSRA are the ones who are having the issue with each other, but that affects MLS.
Right. Yeah, it's strange because, when you think about other leagues, you think about the NFL, basketball, etc., like there is a officials association, and that's who the league works directly with. So it's interesting to have a third leg in that with the
pro
MLS.
pro referee is just like the organization of professional referees, whereas PSRA is literally any ref.
Roger.
So it's a little confusing because PSRA is the union, where pro is just more the distribution factor. So that's kind of where I think where people get confused. So the contracts are like through pro, but pro is the one who gets contracted through the MLS.
And the MLS is not letting this kind of go away. According to The Athletic, a piece released on March 3rd, MLS sent a memo to TV and radio broadcasters to not belabor the point, talking about the
MLS
strike
also
between
just
them.
used SB Nation, which had been dead of soccer coverage for over a year, to send out a like propaganda piece about, oh, the scab refs aren't that bad, to which it had like 4 retweets, and 2 of which were MLS communications guys, like in their Twitter bios was like head of MLS communications. So the
I missed that
MLS
part
is
of that, but
Don Garber on day one went, the league's not just about Messi, and all the writers went, okay, Open Cup and ref issues. And they're like, no.
no, Messi, remember Messi.
No, it wasn't Messi. It's like, it's not about Messi, and it's not about that stuff. Talk about overdo the fact that it snowed in Salt Lake City in early March. Let's pound on that fact that it snowed in the mountains in early March.
Yeah, it was weird to watch games this past weekend. I could definitely tell a smidge of a difference. I mean, I don't have the most trained eye. We all know that point very well. But I thought there was a little bit of a difference. There were some times when some calls would be made, and I would be like, but you didn't make that on the other end. And it would be glaring, obvious things. You know, commentators would make comments about it, situations. It wasn't just me out here being like, I think my team should get that call and the other team shouldn't.
Yeah, most definitely. It's hard to tell and that type of thing, because it's a weird level to understand the difference, because it's all about experience more so, and like a lot of it is, I believe, is how you get up to that level is by how you get graded at the pro level. So it's just a matter of getting better grades, and I think I don't agree with them, but I think if this goes for a long time, the scab reps will start getting better as they get more experience.
Oh, for sure.
In the MLS.
Yeah, I mean, that's like any player. You know, the more time you're out there on the field, the better you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But, John, any kind of final thoughts on the MLS reffing situation before we move on?
No, I'm all good on that right now.
All right. So, John, we have our first action of the season coming up this weekend when Lexington Sporting Club kicks off our season at home against Northern Colorado. Yes. Okay. Thank you for nodding. I had a moment. John, what are you expecting out of Lexington in this match? Or what are you hoping to see? Maybe I should phrase it that way.
I'm hoping to see attacking football is really it's hard, and I also don't want to beat a dead horse, as I've done now like 3 write-ups on the team before they play the competitive match. And there's just a lot out there right now. It's gonna be, let's see what Darren Powell wants his team to be. It's the first game. It's the first competitive game of his tenure. Preseasons have happened, yeah. He had a very good preseason. They played against 3 college teams and 3 pro teams. You know, they did really well, but let's see how it turns out. You know, like, let's see what it is, because Northern Colorado, yes, has been gutted by losing Trevor Amon, Arthur Rogers, their captain Cronwell, and other key pieces. Their big young star was unable to join the club for an undisclosed reason from Europe. So like they aren't, but they still retained a lot of people. Billy King is believe he's going to be under a radar right now type deal. But if you look at what Iman Zayed did with Trevor Iman from his 22 to 23, you're going to see I suspect something big with King this year. They also kept Delgado, who I think is the biggest under the radar goalkeeper in the league. This man led the league in clean sheets and second in saves and got no honors at all last year. That was just because Sean Lewis and Austin Pack. Austin Pack was in another world. Like Delgado was second in saves, but Pack had like 40 more saves than him. So that's why you got goalkeeper a year. And then Golden Glove is determined by like stats. Like it's a stat determination. Like I think it's your goals allowed. And Sean Lewis has the best defense in front of him and down in Knoxville. So Sean Lewis is a great keeper, but when it came, Pack's defense was a little more leaky. So by like GAA, Lewis was better. But Delgado was right there and got none of that type of steal. So you're and Iman take stuff to heart. He's probably watching this or will pull up this podcast because the man does his research and he keeps receipts on people. You don't. Zayed does his research, but he also keeps receipts. So if you say something bad about him, we could be getting a DM from him. I'd be like, this is why you're wrong. And it's like a 50-point list. Like the man does not play.
I'll go on and say it, Zaya. Don't come to Lexington thinking you're going to win. Don't even come in and think about
it. It's going to be competitive. I think it's the game to watch of the weekend out of the three in the USL 1. It's definitely the big game, in my opinion, because Hailstorm are a top 5 team. If I had to say it right now, Lexington, by most people's account, is a clear number 1, but let's see it. Let's see if they're truly there. Hailstorm have guys on their roster: Billy King, Bruno Rendon, Delgado, like I just said, Lucky Opara. They have these guys who are proven with their squad under Zayed. Yes, Powell has proven Lexington guys like Youth, like Fox, like Knight, Mane, who have done good, Robertson, Brown, who have done good with Lexington, but they haven't done good under Powell. We haven't seen what they can do under Powell. So we need to see what all this hype and all this roster building, does it pay off? Is it like, did he truly build a great team? Which on paper, yes, the team is great. But do they gel together? Do they work together? And do they get the best of their parts?
Yeah, and I really do think, I mean, starting out, you've got to have that time to gel. You've got to have that time to reconnect and to build a solid base to continue to build later on in the year. But an early season home match for a team that's traveling basically halfway across the country, I think this is almost a must-win for Lexington. It's the first game of the season, so that's absolutely insane for me to say. But this, on paper, should result in a Lexington win. I will be brash, and I'll say 2-1 Lexington. Sorry, Meal Knight, you don't start the season with a clean sheet.
I don't think that's very brash to say against this NoCo squad. It was a very good attacking squad. Like, it's going to be... Yes, Powell beefed up his defense, but that's the thing. Another thing, we don't know what he's going to run at all. I don't even know fully like what 18 he's going to pick. Outside of like, I could throw some names at the wall based on just experience if he goes for a more vet heavy thing. But from our interview and the stuff I've heard, he doesn't care about veterans. He doesn't care about all that. He cares about putting the best team out there. So he's going to put out the best team, both chemistry wise and elsewise, to see what works.
Yeah. Any final thoughts for you, John, on that before we move on?
Not currently, no.
No prediction? No?
Oh, I have that in my write-up. That'll come out
tomorrow.
Good
tease. Check back to our website tomorrow. our Twitter, Instagram, all Facebook, all of our social media sites, just to continue to see Jon's awesome coverage of Lexington. Jon, let's transition a little bit here to the other game that's happening tonight. The women's national team. They are in the semifinals of the Gold Cup, where they're taking on Canada after that 3-0 victory over Colombia from this weekend. To me, I think this is...
Stop. Don't
What?
you jinx them. Don't jinx them.
Hold on. I was going to say, I think this is their biggest test so far of the tournament. I think Canada is really talented. They are, where was I at there? The reason that Team USA got by Colombia so easily was because they put their foot on the gas all the first period, or first half, I should say, and got up 3-0. That second half...
They got by Colombia because they got under Colombia's skin. Colombia let that penalty kick get to them. And then they were letting the game get out of their hand. They didn't recover well from that penalty kick. And they just let it. They argued one of the most obvious penalties of all time. They let things get chippy. And against a team they didn't necessarily have the ability to be chippy with.
Right.
That the U.S. was the better team going into that overall, but they're not the best. They're not head and shoulders above Colombia.
No, they're not 3-0 better than Colombia on a given day, right? Like that does seem a bit far. But
that's what I'm saying, is that they got under their skin, and that's how it went. I don't think Canada is going to let USA get under their skin.
No, Canada is a totally different team, much more experienced, much more knowledgeable of how to defeat Team USA. I just think it's going to be a tough one. I'm actually going to pick 2-1 Canada.
Jimmy's trying to reverse jinx himself.
No. I really do think that Canada, they've had a better pathway to this point. They're playing more consistent. Team USA has been up and down. There's a lot of change of leadership in the squad.
The team hasn't been up and down, is the thing. I genuinely don't think the team has been up and down. The team has been up and down by our judgment of Team USA. When it really hasn't been, the rest of the world has caught up.
I totally agree with that. I
don't think it's the Mexico game. You could say yes and no. You could say that was a downtime for us.
Yes,
but
we just got a high of beating Colombia 3-0.
I don't think that was a high. I think that was us playing. That was us getting the going up early. Yes, we win that game.
Right.
Yeah, I think, but I don't. The way we win it is not because of a high. It was because we kept level heads while Colombia was mentally crumbling. At least from my point of view, the big thing for the U.S. is one, getting through this time period, but two, we're not gonna dominate anymore. I'm sorry, we're not walking into tournaments going semifinal guarantee, final guarantee, winner guarantee. That needs to stop being the expectation. The entire world has started caring about women's soccer.
Correct.
And it's taking some time to get there, but it's going to get to the point where the U.S. is going to be like Brazil. They're going to be like Germany. They're going to be like Italy on the men's side. You're not going to expect them. No one looks at Brazil every single World Cup and go, they're going to win the World Cup. And if they don't win the World Cup, they don't make the final, whatever. It's a massive, massive failure. Tear down the whole team because they know the men's side has gotten that competitive. The women's side is now getting toward that point. The U.S. are still going to be a top dog and should stay a top dog, at least for now. But it's getting to that point where they can't just cakewalk people.
I agree. And I think this is going to continue to further drive that point home when Canada upsets Team USA and moves on to play Brazil. Oh, now that is a great question.
I don't
Is
think
that an
I don't
upset?
think Canada is going to win, but is that really an upset? I think Canada and the U.S. are very close.
I
So
agree.
is it by FIFA rankings an upset? Yes, but is it like truly an upset? Because FIFA rankings they go off ELO and it's
Well,
whole
but I think
mathematical stuff.
in the American zeitgeist, the popular culture, yeah, losing
Be-
when Team USA women lose, it's an upset.
because they don't pay attention. It's the same thing we see on the basketball side.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We still walk around like we're the better country in golf, and we haven't consistently won the Ryder Cup in forever.
Like 10 years consistently, right?
No, we won it like 2 years or
No, no,
3 years ago,
but like
recently.
consistently winning it.
Yeah, like there is this. The NBA has seen like the past 5 MVPs have all not been American
I
born.
have a theory on that, and I think soccer could be in danger of that, but I'll let you finish your point.
It's just the whole world is becoming a lot more connected, and so these identities that like stayed within a country are now gone. America's ability to thrive on other identities and combining that into their teams is now over.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not a situation where, especially in basketball, where America was so dominant, or women's soccer, where USA was so dominant for so long that can continue to happen. My theory on basketball, though, and I think soccer has to be careful of this. I really like the competition that oh my god, not ABA, that's not it. The constant competitions that basketball players go to. Yeah, ABA, like the amateur
FIBA,
travel. No, 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 like at the youth level.
AAU,
AAU, there it is. The ABA. That's what the Kentucky Colonels were in back in the day. Wow. Anyways, thanks for that. AAU, when you're in that system, you play games so often that you don't really get time to practice. You don't get time to hone in on your craft. As opposed to in
they don't
Europe,
practice.
still, they don't. Yeah, they may have
There's a
one or two
lot of
practices a
there's
season.
no there's a lot of top players are on multiple AAU teams that don't practice. They just hop from game to game. And
Right.
I think Coach Bev, when she was on our interview, I think she spoke with that when it came to Jap- Japan's training style is the same way. Europe is a little more focused in soccer the same way. Is we in America think the best way to get better is to play games over and over and over
Right.
and over and over again. We see this in baseball. We see this kind of
Ugh,
in soccer. Like
dreadful.
I follow a bunch of the youth team accounts because they have various accounts on socials, and I've seen posts where they're like, "All right, big weekend, this thing, 5 games. We play at like 10 a.m. Saturday, 2 p.m., and then like 6 p.m., and then we have 2 games on Sunday too." I'm like, why? Why are
Yeah.
you playing
Why?
5 games? What are you gonna learn from that?
Yeah, and I think especially in basketball, and I think in soccer now too, the more time that you can actually get to practice and to hone your skills is going to set you up better than just playing consistently over and over and over, because then you're going to keep making the same mistakes.
Hmm.
I mean, for the younger folk out there who are listening or watching, like if you're just playing Call of Duty all the time and you're not trying to get better, you're just playing with your friends, that's cool, but you're going to cap out. You're going to hit a certain level. When you sit down and you actually go through and practice and work on the fine motor skills, yeah, you're going to continue to get better and better.
You just dated yourself so hard, Jimmy.
Why?
Because Call of Duty is all about it's all about Warzone now, where you're genuinely playing a bunch of random people every single time. No one does private lobbies anymore.
You mean we're not playing Counter-Strike still?
They are, but not like gather my friends and split the group in half and play each other. No, it's like you gather your squad and you play randos.
Hmm. Can you tell I haven't played a competitive video game in a very long time? Oh dear God! I'll never forget. This is a true story. This is way off topic. I didn't have a next gen console. This was when I was in high school. I didn't have like an Xbox, the original Xbox, or a PS2 at the time. But I went and I entered a Madden tournament at my local Walmart because they were having one, and it was on Xbox. No, I'm sorry, it was on PlayStation, and I wound up finishing second in the tournament because I had been playing on a PS1 and I knew how to do all the little jukes and stuff still. Um, but I kept asking, like, oh, hey, is this person still in this roster? Is this person still in this roster? Yeah, it was not my best moment. Long story short, I'm old, folks. Welcome to the show.
Well, yeah, you just said you were in high school in the mid 2000s.
Welcome. I desperately want to get out of this situation. Any other thoughts on Lexington?
Know when I graduated high school?
Sorry. When?
I don't currently at 2018.
Dear God, you're 10 years younger than I.
I graduated my undergrad in 2022.
I've finished my undergrad in 2012. Yeah. Welcome to the show, folks. This is our great dynamic. Any final thoughts on Team USA, John? How do you think that match is going to end?
It's honestly hard to say right now. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think both Team Canada and the women's USA are going to play it good. I want to see how, if Team USA is still a little chippy or if they like leveled their heads a bit and can focus on this, because I do think they have this determination factor to them. Like, I hear the outside talk most definitely, as they especially are prepping for the Olympics. But can they make it? Can they make it to the final where they can get a revenge against Mexico or get a really big win over Brazil?
Yeah, I think that'll be the question. Make sure you get down into the comments of this video and let us know your thoughts on the Team USA match for tonight. But John, a couple final stories here. We'll kind of go through these a little quicker. Lou City officially signed Ryan Tortman to a contract today. The former Trinity High School star signing his first pro contract with Lou City. Coach Cruz was massive.
Former Trinity, former UK, former Louisville. That's a weird combo.
Yeah, that is a weird. Ryan.
I think he played for One Knox. I believe he played for One Knox in USL 2 days.
They play One Knox. Sorry.
No, he played for One Knox in USL 2 days, I'm pretty sure. That might not be in the press release, but
yeah, I was like scrolling through. I don't see it in there. The only mention of One Knox that is in that one is that they play them this weekend. Thoughts on this addition to the team, John?
I think he's good. I believe he's going to be the third string keeper.
Agreed.
One being signed this late, and from what I believe we saw him in the Lou Lex game. He played well against academy and youth players in the stint he played. It's a good pick. We'll see if he actually gets playing time, because he's definitely like the third choice keeper, I would say. But it could be a thing of a development type deal, or it could be a thing of they maybe want him as a backup once Loss leaves, because he's only on a year-long loan.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty much where I had kind of landed on it. Like, I do think he'll wind up being third string. A very impressive college career. Really good player for the Cardinals and the Wildcats. Again, still don't understand how that happened, but big Kentucky guy. I do hope, wish Ryan the best, and I hope that he can make some waves this year. But I would not expect to see him on the pitch for Lou City this season. John, let's stay in Louisville. Two pieces of news came out from Racing Louisville over the last couple of days here. Racing Louisville signed draft pick Emma Sears to her first pro contract. A rookie deal for the attacker She was the 28th overall pick in the NWSL draft. So now both first and second round draft picks for the draft have been signed. John, thoughts on the addition of Sears officially on the roster?
I'm just curious why it took so long. Because it doesn't seem like she got very much of a different contract than most players from her round. So I'm curious why it took so long to get pen to paper.
That is a good question, and I do not have an answer for that one, but that's a good one. Because both the general manager and Coach Bev were very high on her, talked about her capability and potentials are very high.
It could
So
just
I'm
be
not
it
sure what
took this long to just talk it over with her agent or that type of deal. I don't think this. Some of this could just be like they forgot to announce this stuff. Genuinely, I'm not saying Jonathan over at Lou forgot to release this information, but it could just be like they have their focus elsewhere, and there is communication obligations that like league player teams have to do
Right.
type deal. That's why you'll see like a lot of people got mad at this, but the Super League announced that it's gonna have use select balls in its league, and everyone's like, "Are we really surprised?" And people are like, "Yeah," but they had to contractually make this announcement. The USL has been pumping out deals with people and all this type of stuff, and I've seen stuff. It's like, why are they releasing this? Because the company says release it. They signed a thing with like Tiger Balm today, who's like the lead sponsor of the Comeback Player of the Year award. There's a contract probably by one of their sides like you got to release this that we are working together. So it could just be that the fact that they forgot to announce the thing, or they were just spacing out as they were getting closer to the official, or it could have been it took a while to get pen to paper. I don't honestly know.
Yeah, I wish I had more insight. Maybe something will come out sooner rather than later about what took so long. I am interested to see her play on the field, though, because I do think that she will have some opportunity to get some playing time, especially as we get into that middle part of the NWSL season with the Olympics and trials and stuff like that ahead of that, just to see if she can make it into some action during that time, especially if her and Turner can get connected during that time.
Well,
I think that could be a very
they're
potent
taking a
one.
break for the Olympics.
They are, but if teams have matches before that, and they take players off the NWSL rosters, I think that could be a chance for her to get some time.
Sure.
You're good. Our other news out of Racing Louisville, they have reached an agreement with a streaming partner, Wave, for
They've
local
renewed their agreement with Wave to broadcast local games.
Yes. Racing Louisville and Wave have renewed. I was literally trying to get there, just a step ahead of me. Renewed their broadcasting agreement for the 2024 season, continuing their collaboration to bring local sports to the folks in Louisville. The partnership includes 7 Racing Louisville matches to be broadcasted on Wave, which is the local channel 365, including an upgrade effort to provide comprehensive coverage of the team. Matches will be available on various platforms, including on the air, over the air, Spectrum Cable, Dish Network, Wave3.com, and the Wave News app. John, does this kind of move your needle in any way, shape, form, or fashion within the soccer networking conversations that we had last time?
It doesn't fully move the needle. Like, it's keeping the same contract as old. I'm curious if this is an increase in home games or not, because it's roughly half the amount of home games. But I think the coverage thing is interesting. So are they like going to be covering essentially anything the club releases in a press release? Are they going to be talking about that on the thing? Will they be like, I'm not saying that you're going to break down the game, but are they going to be announcing the scores of every game? Are they going to be like on Monday or Tuesday being like, there's a game in Louisville this weekend. Make sure, even if they're not broadcasting it, are they going to be talking about when games are? Are they going to, for the people that watch Wave for news? That's what I'm curious about. It's like, are they going to be in the sports coverage of every hour type deal? Or is it this kind of like once a week type deal?
So from the press release, sorry, I just spat all over my computer. Wave commits to producing regular features on Racing Louisville players and coaches, including increasing the team's visibility and engagement with fans. The partnership emphasizes local support with a focus on community engagement through the interviews and special guest segments, such as weather reports on game days, etc. So it does sound like there will be both producing extra content and talking about them in their news broadcast.
Sounds good.
Some of the key matches that will be on Wave include the season opener against Orlando Pride, and then a special game during the Thunder over Louisville festivities, enhancing the team's presence in such a huge event for the city of Louisville.
That's a good partnership type deal.
Agreed. John, that's all that I have. Anything that you want to chat about today, my friend?
I really do not have that much. This is what happens when you hit the wall, what I consider the preseason wall.
Oh, yeah.
You can only talk about stuff for so much.
Yeah, we've hit home that Lexington match this weekend like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, you can only talk about so much because preseason games do not mean anything. You can talk about them, but they really do not mean anything. They mean a grain of salt if you haven't watched them. But yeah, there's games start this weekend, so things are going to be more interesting. Lex will be on ESPN Plus this weekend for that game, and then come next week, we got a full weekend again of Lex will be in action and both Lou's teams will be in action. So we're getting there. Just that preseason wall that like literally is what a lot of fans hate about it. Because everyone's excited for preseason. Then comes like the end of preseason. And everyone just like, okay, this stuff is saying the same stuff over and over and over again because there's nothing else to talk about.
Hey, thankfully for the women's national team for giving us at least something to talk about in live action.
And even then, it's too spread out.
Agreed. Please make sure that you're listening to us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple. We also have a Buy Us Coffee account. Right up there is QR code. Over my shoulder is where it lives, but also on the screen right now. Right now, we're trying to save up some money, see if we can send John up to Vermont for the Lexington-Vermont Green match in the Open Cup. So if you'd like to donate to that, please scan the QR code now. As always, we like to make sure that everybody is following us, liking, subscribing on all of our social media channels. We've got our Twitter page at BG Soccercast. Same thing over on Instagram and Facebook. TikTok at BG Soccercast. And then, of course, one of 3 places to watch our show is on YouTube at BG Soccercast. We appreciate everybody tuning in for tonight. We'll be back next week for 2 more great episodes of the Bluegrass Soccercast. I'm Jimmy, that's John, and we'll see you on the next one.